Hey everybody, this is Christian and Steve.
What's up?
Today we're going to be talking about choices. Would you like to start it off?
I would love to. All right, so the first big topic we're going to talk about is what influences your choices. So when you have a decision to make, what kind of factors into, your overall decision on what to pick. So we're going to start really by defining what a short-term versus a long-term decision kind of is. So, and for me, because I'm at kind of a weird age where I'm still in college, like, short-term and long-term is kind of a weird concept for me because, I graduate in, a little over a year now. I'm almost done with my junior year. I got 1 year left as a senior. So it's like, I guess the choices for what class I'm going to take next year are kind of short-term decisions for me. And everything almost after that, I feel, is kind of a long-term decision.
Right. Yeah, and being, one whole year out of college, it was interesting when you're at that point because that's all everybody talks about in college is, the future, when you graduate, So maybe I don't know, maybe I lost perspective on that because, like, I was always so caught up in doing, the business, right? Like, I didn't really care for college too much. But, I was always looking at the business's future. So I tended to make, long-term decisions. And so, like, for me, defining a long-term decision would probably be something that I would feel would have an impact on my life anywhere from now to the next 5 to 10 years, right?
Short term?
Long term.
Oh, long term, okay.
You're right. So it's like, by simply owning the business, that's a long-term decision for me because I'm going to have to do it tomorrow, but I'm also planning to do it in about 10, in 10 years or whatever. Like, I don't plan on stop doing it, but, like buying a business vehicle, like that's a long-term decision because I'm going to have it. Like, maybe I don't look at things the way typical people do, but like, if I plan on getting a business vehicle at the end of the summer, but I have the thing for years and years and years, like, that's a long-term decision for me.
It's almost a weird concept, and that's why it's sometimes hard to
That's why we started by defining it, because I'm sure that mine's a little bit different than, everybody else's. But
It's not even that everyone has a different definition of short and long term, but when I guess the duration of whatever decision it is subject to change, the lines between short term and long term get blurred. If you get a vehicle that you think is going to last you 10 years and it really, doesn't, or lasts you way longer than that.
Right, yeah.
It's weird as, how that what you thought was a short-term decision really became, a long-term decision, or that long-term decision really became more of a short-term.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what I look at. The effects of a choice are long-term or short-term. Like, for example, a short-term decision to me would be where I'm going to dinner tonight. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. Like, I don't even... I hardly plan a few days in advance. Like, my schedule is just... It changes, like, everything. Every day, every second. Like, today I woke up, I had 4 tanks to do, and I only had 3. Somebody canceled. And then while I got done with the second one, someone's like, oh, wait, we can fit you in, or whatever, I was just like, okay, cool. Like, that's short term to me.
Mm-hmm. And I guess kind of the customer acquisition process is probably a little bit more of, maybe not a long-term decision, but I guess maybe more of a long-term goal is to acquire a customer and keep them for,
definitely.
years to come.
Right. So that's why I have a lot of things in the works right now. Just trying to figure out the actual logistics of how to make those ideas run smoothly. I spoke to you about that. But that's a different podcast, I guess, right? But yeah, the whole brainstorming process and but yeah, I mean, choices like I said, I was speaking to some of my customers, like, how would you go about, like, buying a business vehicle? And they would say, oh, if you can, if it's cheap enough, and it is, it's not like it's something I'm really going to have to finance, you tell your customer, like, look, I'll give you a month free if you pay me a lump sum for the year or something. So that's probably what I'm going to have to do just to get that, like, even though that's a short term, I get it now, but it's like the effects of that choice are going to be hopefully long term.
Yeah.
They will be. At least 5 years, right?
You'd hope.
Depending on how long these vehicles go for anymore, you know? But.
Well, it's weird because some, I guess you could say short-term decisions can turn into long-term gains, It's something as simple as, last night I bought a pair of shoes. Bought a couple pairs, actually. But that's besides the point. But part of the reason I decided to,
More than a couple pairs,
get these shoes is basically, going into business. They were a pair of shoes that I know, it cost me $70 today to buy that pair of shoes, but I'm going to have them for at least 10 years if I take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
So, you take that useful life of, whatever it is you're buying, whether it's a van for work or whether it's a pair of shoes, and, sometimes in the moment it seems like a lot of money, but when you think about the duration of time you're going to be able to actually use it for, it's maybe not as difficult a decision.
Yeah, like I often hear people who, and it's mostly service companies, like tree service or plumbers, like, yeah, like this business truck, like, we're going to put 100,000 miles on this thing a year, so we're definitely going to get our money's worth out of it, and it's just like, well, yeah. And, like, I even argue that I think short-term decisions anyway. Like, I always, like, in the back of my mind, like, whether it's buying it, like, well, especially with buying tools, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have this forever. So I no problem spending the extra 20% or what, even double on the nicer version of something, because I always
take care of it, and then you always have it.
Yeah, and for example, one of the tools that I bought recently was it's a titanium temperature probe that I could use in aquariums. It was like $48, but it's like, I should get it. Like, I'm gonna have it forever. It's like really nice, and like I said, like you said, if you take care of it, you'll have it. So, yeah, I find it hard to even think, like, for a short-term gain, because, especially with the business, like, I always look long-term with it, so.
And a weird concept, I guess, to think about, too, is I feel like it's not even always useful to plan too far into the future, like making, what you think are going to be long-term decisions, because, when you're thinking 5 to 10 years down the road-ish, depending on your definition.
Right.
Things in those, from now to that 5 years are bound to change.
There's a lot of variables.
Well, there's a lot of variables, and, there's the old saying, the only constant thing in life is change.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're going through making, these short-term decisions, you may end up way in a different place, and hopefully a better place than really you were planning on.
But at the same time, too, I feel like that people oftentimes plan out the whole month. They sit down, they plan out, okay, so this day we're going to do this day, we're going to do this day. And it's just, well, like, I just sort of play it. I literally try to play it by day because, like I was just saying, things change so much. And I feel like oftentimes if their month doesn't go exactly like they had it planned, then they become disappointed or stressed out.
Mm-hmm.
And that is such an unnecessary stress to have. If you like doing that, then that's fine. I'm not knocking people who like to plan out their month. Honestly, I kind of wish I could do it. But definitely, I've noticed, like, my brother does it and my mom kind of does it sometimes. Like, just two people that are, like, close to me, is if he doesn't get something done on a Thursday, not like he can't do it on Friday. Like, why can't you just do it on Friday? He gets so stressed out and causes him, like, all this anxiety. And it's just like, you don't have to do that. Like, it's fine. Just do it the day after. And I don't know. I'm just using them as an example, but it's just like, sometimes just not really expecting things to go as planned. If you don't have a plan, how can you expect things to go as planned, right?
Yeah.
So.
And that's a good way to think about it, is a lot of times as you're going through making these short-term decisions, as long as you're thinking about properly and, being careful about these short-term decisions, kind of like you said, playing it by ear, you'll find your way to your overall kind of long-term goal. And you'll probably even, possibly get there quicker,
mm-hmm.
or, it'll be easier to get there because, it's easier to make a short-term decision than try and, it's easier to kind of plan the route as you go almost, rather than, looking at your destination and trying to, like, find the path that specifically gets there.
Right. And one of the things, and I've definitely mentioned this in at least 2 podcasts before, is that one saying where you can drive from New York to California in the dark with your headlights only showing you the next 200 feet. You don't need to see the whole destination. Yep. You don't need to see the whole the whole road, if you just concentrate on the next 200 feet and only concentrate and worry about that, you can get there just fine.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I've sort of like taken, and I've always sort of been that way, but like after I heard that, I was just like, wow, like that makes a lot of sense.
I don't think you've mentioned that one with me, and that one actually, I really like that saying.
Yeah, it's really good. But yeah, and that maybe, you know, another quote too is short-term speed, long-term patience, and that speaks for itself. Like, you can't do nothing short-term and expect nothing to happen long-term. You know, you need to execute and strive for that goal every day, but then not expect it to happen the day after, right? So, and having, you know, obviously having like, you know, having a business, it's very easy to do that. It's just like, yep, every day I'm grinding, every day, same thing, every day. And then, you know, you look back 6 months and you're like, wow, look how far I've come. Like, I didn't even notice that, right? And then you just do the same thing for the next 6 months and you look back like, wow, like I just made some more you know what I'm saying? And that's like that's the patience part.
I feel
That's
like
what
a cool
I struggle
analogy
with
for this.
most.
I feel like a cool analogy for this is just would be kind of like NASCAR. You're driving at 200 miles an hour, and you know if you don't want to make a mistake, you can't think about the last lap and you know finishing the race. You got to think about in the moment that lap you're on, the cars that are surrounding you at that moment,
getting the extra half a car length every lap or whatever it is, you know,
and moving your way up in the pack. And then when you get to that, you know, last 10 laps and you're getting down to the edge, and then you realize, you know, kind of, wow, look, I started all the way at the back, and I'm, you know, here at the front.
Right.
So, yes, is there any difference for you, really, in the decision-making process between, you know, these short-term and long-term decisions?
I think so, because long-term decisions, like, I know they're going to be long-term. But with short-term decisions, I try to weigh it on, is this going to be beneficial long-term? Right? You know, and if the answer is no, then I'm probably not going to like make the decision to go that way. For example, when I was getting my shoes that I got for work, I'm on my feet all day, you know, good at least 10 hours a day. And they're the most hideous pair of shoes you'll probably ever see.
They're the Grandpa 2000s.
They're Grandpa 2000s. They have great high arch support, lower back, but I get picked on so much for them. People tell me what are you doing? Take those off. But you know,
but it's the smart choice,
right? Yeah, it's like I don't plan on getting rid of these tomorrow, you know, and I often tell people with fish tanks like, well, unless you plan on tearing the tank down in 6 months, I wouldn't recommend you get the better piece of equipment. And they're like, oh, okay, that makes sense, right? And same thing, like the shoes, they were like $120. I don't like spending a lot of money on shoes, and it's just like, well, they're great still. I've had them for a couple months. If I get a year or two out of them until they lose their padding or whatever, then so be it. But like to me, I chose to buy the nicer pair rather than the worst pair because I knew that I was gonna have them long term.
Yeah.
And now that I think about it, people have got to make a lot of decisions like that too. You know.
Well, that's the weird thing about short-term decisions a lot of times is, you know, if you think about them in the long term and how that short-term decision can affect you in the long term, you know, we were discussing before we started the podcast about, like, delayed gratification.
Yeah.
Think about, you know, it's a short-term decision, but, you know, in the future, is this really going to benefit me or is it going to make a difference? And, you know, is it going to negatively affect me or, you know, adversely affect me as far as, you know, a lot of those sometimes can be financial decisions. And we talked about, you know, sometimes depending on the useful life, you know, it's way worth it. And other times, you know, if it's going to adversely affect your ability to, you know, purchase a piece of equipment in the future or, you know, invest more money in your marketing, whatever it may be, you know, is it a worthwhile decision?
Absolutely. And same with, like, fitness, too. You know, like, an instant gratification for relating to fitness, like, if you want delayed gratification, it would be eating green beans, broccoli, and chicken instead of having half of a pizza and ice cream to yourself, right?
Yeah.
So you get the instant gratification of eating the junk food because it tastes good and it's delicious, but then you get the delayed gratification if you choose the healthier route. You don't get it immediately. You know, you don't get the feel good immediately. You get it down the road because maybe you'd make progress on it.
Exactly.
You know.
And that's one of those things too. I mean, not to kind of stray a little bit off topic here, but if, you know, there's something you really want and, you know, it's one of those, you know, staying with the theme of fitness here, you know, find ways to make broccoli and green beans and chicken more enjoyable
oh yeah
for you rather than, you know, just saying like I hate it. find a solution to that, so I can eat healthy and get